All right, Rippers, welcome back. It's been a long time. Yep, just to give you an update to what's been happening. Well, one, everything around us seems to be on fire, whether it's in Oregon, Washington, or California, or pretty much every state. And I think that's just crappy, right? It's really weird. It says something. I'm not going to say it's on purpose, but, I'm not going to say it's not. See, because, who knows, right? I mean, it's obvious our planet's changing, right? It's changing. That being said, it's changing because of decisions being made by those in control, in my opinion, as well as people, too. We can do some to lessen what's happening. But aside from all of that, it's been on fire. It's been really smoky in this valley. This valley has an inversion layer in it because we're surrounded by mountains, and we don't get a lot of wind that goes through here all the time. So the smoke tends to settle into here and get trapped, right? Especially when it's warm out like it is. And it has been. It's been anywhere from in the 90s to a little over 100, right? That's pretty darn hot. Been struggling to keep the garden alive, but I've managed to keep a little section of it going pretty healthy. Although some of them struggled a little bit and I lost some. But the stuff that's going is going pretty good, but I'm having to hit it pretty good with the water without trying to overwater it or without making it overwatered so that it turns yellow, right? So can't have any yellow here. That being said, other than that, COVID visited the house again. Yep, that's right. Came in, my kids got it, and better half got it, and well, guess who didn't get it? That's right, the pureblood didn't get it. But it doesn't mean I haven't had it once. It was all right. It wasn't too bad, but it wasn't fun. So don't let that get you all worried or anything. It is on a rise, so all I'll say is use common sense. Just wash your hands. Don't put your fingers in your mouth, touch your eyes and things like that if you're around sick people, and well, stay away from sick people, right? Tell them stay home if they're sick. Get healthy, right? That's how we've always done it in the past to not get colds, right? And if you get it, just treat yourself like you would any other, and well, you'll be better for it because you'll have an immunity. But that being said, if you remember, we left off with the old Ripper project, right? This is the Dpms Ripper, right? Now what this is, it's kind of a combination. Now, I got this old rifle from a friend. I kind of did a trade with him for something he wanted better. And I took this in as in that trade, and quite honestly, I mean, these are one of the older DPMSs. Now the newer DPMSs, everybody says they're junk or whatnot like that since they started selling with Walmart and that kind of thing, and that may be so. I don't know. I don't have any. I just have some of the older build ones that have this old heavy handguard on here, and usually they used really good barrels and they used heavy barrels. In fact, one of my most accurate AR-15s is a DPMS that I built myself customly, but it came with their 1-inch bull barrel on there, and that thing is a tack driver. Just ask any digger squirrel that's out in the farmer's field, right? So, other than that, we have this basic A2 mod, and I took it in from him on trade because you know what? I kind of like this A2 type style that has the fixed sight on the gas block, right? And you've got your carry handle, right? That's kind of why I wanted it, because I didn't have one really like that. And I kind of wanted one because if you think about it, if you have to get rid of everything, right? You can't find batteries, your optic breaks, your electronics break, all that kind of stuff. What are you left with? The basics. And quite honestly, this is one durable, reliable rifle when it's built correctly. And so I wanted to have one like that. Now, it doesn't have the solid stock on the back. That would have been even better for looks wise, I think. But then I probably have one lying around somewhere. But collapsibility is good for reducing weight and that kind of thing. So that being said, we were working on this project and what kind of upgrades we were going to make to it. And as you can see right off the top, we put, since DPMS had a sling swivel up here, we put a Harris bipod on there, right? And Harris aren't the best out there. I'm not trying to say they are, but they do work and they work well, and I've never had one let me down. They're kind of a little clunky looking, maybe, but they're not super heavy either. And I've never had one break. And I like the models that allow you to tilt like this. They do make one that allows you to pan. You can pan a little bit like this. It has a little flex in it, but pretty much that. And you know, it just allows you to you know, fold it up like that. So that being said, this was our starting point, right? It's a good solid rifle. It's in 223, however, it's not in 556. So you got to watch your overpressure of your rounds, but should be okay for occasional shooting of 556 if you needed to. And quite honestly, I've never had one give me a problem. It's not to say that it couldn't, but it's a 223, and if I remember right, this one is a 1 in 8 twist barrel. So that's pretty good, because 1 in 8 will allow you to shoot heavy bullets all the way up to lighter bullets. Now, it would have been better for some of the really light bullets if this was a 1 in 9, maybe even a 1 in 10, but then it would affect the accuracy in most cases with the heavy bullets like the 62 to 77 grain stuff. But this rifle I wanted specifically for in that 55 grain to 62 grain mark, maybe a little bit lighter. We'll have to try it out on paper and see how it does, because this is a 20-inch rifle. Now that's another reason why I kept it, because the AR-15 really in the beginning, or the M16, was kind of based about being a 20-inch barrel, so you can get that super high velocity, right, to get some of that punch going through the bushes and things like that, or even through, you know, the body armor of the time. And that was a great thing. And I thought, you know what? I really wanted it because it was a 20-inch barrel. And I decided to keep it instead of getting rid of it, because I wanted a gun that could get some good speeds out there. Now, the Target one I have is a 24-inch barrel, and it really screams. But we're going to see how this one does for us. And here's what we're going to do to upgrade it. Now, sadly, because of YouTube, I can't show you anymore how to put these things on here. But I think most of you already know how to do that kind of stuff. And I'm just going to go over some of the improvements on what I do when I make a gun built for me. Right now, everybody can build their guns. They're all going to have opinions, and feel free to share them in the comment section, because we all have different things we like to do to guns. Some of us like to do less, keep it more simple. Some of us like to do more, right? Some of us like to spend more money and whatnot. I try to stay on a little bit of a budget because, you know, times aren't as, you know, plentiful, let's say, as they were in the past. So that being said, of course, what did I get? Well, I got me 4 standard capacity magazines. Now, 2 of these are MFTs, which have always worked well for me, and the other 2 are the Gen 3, I believe they are, PMags. So, and they work fine for me. So we got those. So that's got your magazines set aside. Now, the next thing, we needed to get some ammo. This thing is really meant to shine with 55 grain or lighter ammo, right? So, of course, I just went ahead and got me some of this cheap Sergeant Major for sighting it in. It's 55 grain full metal jacket. It's that Sergeant Major munitions, right? The primers are a little hard on this. Don't use this for, like, if you're gonna want to count on these rounds. I wouldn't use this ammo, but it's great for practice because of its price. And lately, if you haven't seen, I've seen 223 as low as like $9 a box, so that's not too bad. But this one right here, I'm really hoping it shoots well. And this is that Super Performance Varmint 223 California compliant. Now, this is the one time where in ammunition where California compliant isn't a bad thing, because that means it's either solid copper projectile or it's a copper alloy compressed medium, right? So essentially a frangible, but a really hard frangible, but frangible nonetheless. And it's inside of the copper case, so it stays together really well. So what I'm hoping on this is that it penetrates like a Dickens, because it's 35 grain NXT bullet, which is basically like any of your plastic tip Hornady AMAX style type bullets. In fact, like a VMAX in this case. But the NXT, instead of having lead in its core, has that compressed copper amalgam, we'll call it, or alloy, you can call it, in there. And so when it goes, I mean, this thing is moving at 4,000 feet per second. That is moving, and that's out of a 20-inch barrel. So 4,000 feet per second out of a 20-inch barrel, that's a smoking round. And even though it's small, 35 grain, it ought to hit with a ton of just dumping energy kinetically into the target. Like, it's going to go in. Now, I've seen some tests on this on YouTube, some videos already that have tested some of this, or on their website, really. It goes in, it really only goes in about 8 inches maybe, and then literally just causes a massive temporary wound cavity and comes apart. And that is excellent for not only varmint hunting, is it excellent for, especially if you're wanting to save pelts, but it's excellent for, in my opinion, home defense. I like the fact that if it hits something because I missed, it's just going to come apart, right? So it's not over penetrating. Now, I would love to see this. If you're listening, Hornady, which I'm sure you're probably not, make this 35 grain little ripper, but make it a solid copper like your other rounds for 308 that you have, right? You know the ones I'm talking about. Make it a solid copper round that comes open for maximum penetration. That would be a great round, right? But that being said, got some ammo for it. Now, what we're going to do on this one is we're going to take one of these like type mounts, because this handle has a little hole in it, and that way you can put this in here and the nut screws on, and you get a little piece of Picatinny rail right here for you to mount an optic on, because I do want to run an optic on it, being as though it's a 20-inch heavier contour barrel. I want to get some range out of this thing, right? Kind of want to make it like almost like a DMR type situations, right? Because this thing is going to be wicked even out to 300 yards. Now, I had a Leopold one of these, and then I had this Nackstar one, and honestly, the Nackstar one fit better, and you can see how it's tapered right there. I don't know if you can see that in the light, but it's tapered so that it only goes in one direction, and then the hole in the center, see, I can see you right through here, you'll see a peekaboo. Anyway, the hole right through the center is better in this one, because in the Leopold one, the nut that's inside there gets in the way. This nut doesn't. They've actually got it recessed in there well, so that you have a better view through the center, and you can actually use the iron sights through the mount itself. And that was critical for what I wanted. I always like the ability to have the iron sights usable if your optic fails, gets broken, and you can't take it off in a hurry, or the red dot battery dies, whatever. That kind of stuff happens, especially in really cold weather. So we're going to put one of these on there, and then the optic I decided to go with is this Spitfire 5X, right? It's made by Vortex. Did that for a couple reasons. One, it's nice and compact, right? So it's kind of like a prism sight. Well, it is a prism sight, but it's etched reticle, so, and it's 5 power, so it's just a fixed magnification. Let's see here. It does, if I remember right, yeah, it lights up, so it's a lit reticle. It has a ranging reticle on it, so you can figure range of your target. And again, it's nice, small, compact, and light. It's not going to be a big, heavy scope on here, because I didn't want this to be like a real heavy rifle. Stay tuned for that project. That one's coming up here probably in the next week or so. But it's everything I kind of wanted on here. And if you look here on the top, you can take this top cap off. I took the screws out already, and it has a mount for a red dot. So you can have a sight, you can put a red dot on the top that will get you out to say 100 yards, maybe a little bit further than that. 140 yards last time I checked. I know that's a bad joke, might be too soon, but we're all thankful that he missed. That being said, you can put a dot on there for your 100 yards and in, and then you can use the 5X for everything past that. And that, I think, will be a good combination. Now, it'll sit a little high up on here, but I kind of like having a heads-up position on my gun if I can. And that's why this mount, like if I was doing it on a flat top, I would put the riser on it, right? But I've got the low mount on it. You can see where this one's higher, see, and it would raise the sight. But we're going to go with the low mount since we're already going on top of the handle, and then we're going to take this here guy, the Venom, which is made to go on top of it by Vortex. Again, more affordable than some of your like Trinjicons and you know, those kind of things. But yet still a good dot. And this one right here, now they come with all the wrenches and the screwdrivers for putting them on and lens cloths and whatnot like that. But this little red dot's going to sit, this little guy right here is going to sit, it has a cover on it, but it's going to sit on top of this like that. So I should just be able to tip my head up just a little bit and be able to get on the red dot. And I think that setup's going to work really well. But to kind of help it out, because I kind of test fitted it a little bit, this stock is still, I can do it on this stock by keeping my chin weld up higher like this, which I like to do. But to help that out, I went ahead and got one of these guys, and we're going to try this out, and I think it's going to work out pretty well. But this little guy just snaps onto the back of any of your, any of these stocks that are set up for it. This one happens to be a Magpul, and this is a Magpul cheek riser right there. And that's going to help make it quicker and more accurate offhand in quick situations, right? So we're going to put one of those on there. Now, then we're going to take this. Now, this little guy right here, I like to make my gun set up for if I have gloves and whatnot. And yeah, it's probably made in China. It's nothing fancy. It's all been lightened up like that, but it gives a bigger relief right here, right, for gloves. And we're going to change out that trigger bow right there with this trigger bow, so it's a little bit more roomy, looks a little cooler, as you can see, and it'll be able to have thick gloves on if you need it, right? Then we're going to put one of these jobbies on here. I'll show you. This is the back ring right here. It goes between your gun and the castle nut. You know, the castle nut is right there. And this little guy right here is what keeps this from rotating, and also holds in some springs and some other things. But we're going to put one of these in its place that'll give me, you can see this one doesn't have any sling points. And even though we got a sling point back here, and we'll probably figure out a way to get one up front here, or you can just go around the gas block and barrel right there with your sling. We're going to give this a little clip point right here and replace this keeper with this keeper right here. So that's one thing we're going to do. And then we're going to take this little guy, because I kind of like upgrading things to show you guys what you can do with your rifles and whatnot. But we're going to either, I haven't decided yet, so you can put in the comment section which you would do. This is an extended bolt release, which gives you a little bit bigger surface to push your bolt release on. Holy moly, come out of that bag, will you? All right, so you can see that replaces the bolt release on this side right there. And it makes it so that it's more accessible for your finger and whatnot like that. Now, I can either do that, but it'll still only be able to be operated by your non-trigger hand, right? And it's made by Strike Industries, or am I saying that right? Yeah, Strike Industries. Affordable, good little thing. Or I can put a Magpul bad lever, which what you do is you leave this lever on there, your bolt release on there, and you attach the bad lever on it, and it makes a little lever that comes down here that you can engage and disengage your bolt with your hand, your trigger hand, without having to take it off of the grip and really off of the trigger much, right? And I really kind of like that idea. I want to hear your guys' pros and cons on that. Which would you like better? Do you just want an extended one over here so you can just reach back with this thumb and hit it, right? Or do you want one that you can operate with the same hand and keep all your hands in the same place? Tell me down in the comment section which you like better and what you think the pros and cons are. We're going to throw on a couple pieces of pick lever. I'm going to figure out a way to get those on there because of this weird hand guard. And then the last thing we're going to do, because I always do this to all my guns because I'm kind of a trigger snob, I have to admit. I mean, I don't mind a good polished mil-spec trigger or two-stage trigger, but I'm a single stage trigger guy. It's just the way I am. It's because of the kind of shooting I've done, whether it be long range target or 3-gun. I just prefer a flat, even on my pistols, single stage trigger if I can get one, right? So that being said, we've got 2 of them here. We've got this one that I found in my, now all these are just parts that I've had laying around in my boxes for someday at projects. I find them on sale and I say, oh, it'll go on a project gun, and then well, here the time is I got a project gun. So we can either go with this Rave 140, which is a straight trigger drop in with anti-walk pins, and it's a 3.5 pound single stage, or we can go with this Tapco drop in single stage with flat trigger, and it has anti-walk pins as well. That's also 3.5 pounds. Tell me which one you think you would like to see in here, and we'll put, you know, which one you'd like to see tested in this, and see which one you would like to see in there better. Now, they're both probably great triggers. Now, what's interesting is I noticed that Tapco, which I believe was owned by Remington at one time, or purchased by one of the parent companies of Remington or something before they went out of business. Actually, when Remington went out of business, you stopped seeing Tapco stuff, and most people know Tapco for their cheap stocks and stuff for shotguns and AK-47s and SKSs and whatnot like that. But they also started producing, now that they're back up and running again, because they are up and running again, they're producing performance products for affordable prices, and they're being sold in generic looking wrapping like this. Some of them even come in just like foil bags, you know, plastic bags that are sealed up, trigger groups. They even have performance polished trigger sets that are standard type trigger sets, right, mil spec. But they produce a whole line of things, and they've been showing up in like Sportsman's Warehouses where I saw these. They got a whole section. They got everything from Glock barrels of all different types, SIG barrels, threaded, extended, ported. There's muzzle brakes they make. They make parts kits, miscellaneous parts for these. You know, if you got a boo-boo kit in case something wears out on your rifle and you're needing to replace it, like gas rings and things like that in your BCG, which is bulk carrier group, things like that. So let me know which one you'd like to see in there. I got it. Now, this one I had laying around, but I saw this, and because it was inexpensive, for this kind of trigger, I got it in hopes to try it out so that other people can have a good trigger that helps them shoot better and faster for an affordable price. So, and Rise isn't a super expensive one either. It's when you start getting up into the Timneys or the Elf, things like that. So that's what we're going to do with this project. I hope you guys are looking forward to it as much as I am, and I hope you're looking forward to getting out and shooting it. As soon as the smoke and air quality gets better out here and the temperature gets a little cooler, this should be all put together. I'll be sharing that in the next video, and we'll be headed out to the range to test the 55, the 35 Super Performance Varmint, and probably like 62 grain M855 and the and 62 grain, you know, full metal jacket as well, the M193, and I think we'll even try and see how stable the 1-in-8 barrel will make the 77 grain bullets as well. So the OTMs. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you're going to enjoy this project. Let me know what you think. Let me know which trigger you'd like to see in there. Let me know what you think about the bolt release modification, and please remember to share it out on all your social media platforms. Like to see things grow. Be sure you do that for everybody you support. It really does make a difference. I know you guys notice because you get alerts from me probably when I post things I've shared in my comment section for other channels that I stand behind and support. And well, like, share, and subscribe, right? Leave a comment, right? That's always good too. And as you guys know, I try to read and respond to all of them. So I appreciate you guys all. I hope you're out there being safe, being secure, always being aware of your surroundings, always carrying, well, maybe not this, but you know, always carrying and be staying alert and ready for anything that may come your way. Till next time, adios and aloha.